Welcome. Okay, think about the last meeting you were in. Seriously, did you walk out of there knowing exactly what you were supposed to do next? Well, today, we're going to learn how to listen for the secret rules of the game, the ones that really determine if you succeed.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about why listening is such a big deal. Then, we'll actually listen in on a meeting to hear how the rules get made. After that, I've got a little challenge for you, and then we'll break down the exact words to listen for. And finally, we'll put it all together in a toolkit you can use right away.
All right, let's just get right to it. Why do we even need to talk about listening? You know, it's not just some soft skill to put on your resume. It's literally the thing that separates a good employee from a truly great one.
And let's be super clear on what listening actually is. It's like this. You can hear music playing in a cafe, right? That's just noise. But listening is when you actually pay attention and understand the lyrics. In a meeting, you've got to be hearing the lyrics.
Because at work, this skill is everything. It means you get your job done right the first time. You follow instructions without any confusion. And the secret? It's not that complicated. You just have to tune out everything else and focus completely on the person talking. If you can do that, you're going to see a huge difference in your work.
Okay, enough with the theory. Let's see how this all plays out in the real world. We're about to drop into a meeting with a manager, Mr. Jones. Now, your job is to just listen. Listen for the ways he sets the ground rules for everyone in the room.
And right away, Mr. Jones is super clear. He's not just starting a chat, he's telling everyone, hey, pay attention, there's a structure here. He's establishing the protocol for the whole meeting from the get-go.
And boom, here's rule number 1. Did you catch the wording? Only the manager will speak. That's not a suggestion, folks, that's a command. That word will tells you this is a mandatory action for the future. It changes everything. And here comes rule 2, another required action. That phrase, will need to, is so powerful. It's a clear signal that this isn't optional. Every single person in that room now has a specific job to do.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Mr. Jones asks a question to set a rule. Can we speak after? It sounds polite, but it's actually a really smart way to define when it's okay for the team to jump in. He's still in control, just using a different tool.
And here we go. This is what active listening looks like. An employee, Lisa, speaks up. She doesn't just nod. She confirms the rule out loud and says, I understand. You know, that right there closes the communication loop. It shows she was actually paying attention.
And he wraps it up by repeating the main point. That little phrase, it's important to remember, is such a classic manager move. He's making it crystal clear that following these rules is not just a suggestion, it's essential for the meeting to work.
Okay, so you heard the whole exchange. Now let's find out what you really heard. It's time for a quick listening challenge. Let's see if you were catching those little details. First up, go back to that very first rule from Mr. Jones. What was the one thing he said was absolutely mandatory?
And what about the second rule? What was the job he gave the team? And more importantly, do you remember the exact phrase that told you it was mandatory? Now, think about when people were allowed to talk. What was the specific question Mr. Jones asked to set that rule? And last one. How did Mr. Jones really drive the point home at the end? What was that final phrase he used to make sure everyone was on the same page?
So how'd you do? No worries either way. Let's go through the answers and really decode the language that was hidden in that conversation. This is how we turn just hearing things into a real professional skill.
Just look at this breakdown. It's perfect. See how the first two cues, will speak and will need to, are all about the future? They're commands, but then he switches it up, using a polite question to set a boundary. And he finishes with that reinforcement phrase to make sure it all sticks. It's like a whole toolkit for running a meeting in just a few sentences.
And this really shows the difference in tactics. You will need to, that's a direct order, right? It's top down. But can we? That feels more like teamwork, even though it's doing the exact same thing, setting a rule. Both get the job done, just in different ways.
Okay, so what do we do with all this? Let's turn these ideas into something you can actually use. We're going to build a simple, powerful toolkit that you can take with you to your very next meeting.
Here it is, your new listening toolkit. It's got 3 main parts. First, listen for future words like will or will need to. That's your signal for a mandatory task. Second, listen for questions that aren't really questions. A phrase like can we is probably a rule in disguise. And third, listen for signposts. Words like rule number 1 or it's important to.
And what holds it all together? Your complete, undivided focus on the speaker.
If you need a way to remember all this, think of a meeting like being at an airport. The rules? That's your flight plan. If you don't listen carefully to the pilot, your manager, when they tell you the mandatory actions, your flight is going to get bumpy. Or worse, you might not even reach your destination. Good meetings need good listeners.
So what's the next step? Don't just sit there and listen. I want you to start asking follow-up questions to make sure you've got it right. Something super simple like, just to confirm, we're holding all questions till the end. That can make a world of difference. And so I'll leave you with this one challenge. In the very next meeting you go to this week, what's the one hidden rule you're going to be listening for? Try to spot it, understand it, and put your new toolkit to the test. Thanks for tuning in.